Hi, today I want to show you how you can render dynamic buttons, basically a list of buttons that is fully populated dynamically where your user will be able to click on and then go to a different page of yours or to a different page in general. This is great if you're working with affiliate links or if you're working on some sort of a content generation platform that is basically an auto-populated block source that will just have dynamic relations to those sources or something like this. There are a million use cases, but I just want to show you how to build that. So first of all, we want to go to Webflow, and our goal here is to render a list of multiple buttons. So I always recommend add some buttons in here and pretend that they are rendered dynamically. Because since Wized doesn't integrate like with Webflow CMS, like Webflow CMS does, where you can see the preview within the editor, you have to visualize yourself a bit how to work with those structures. So I like to add some template items in here so that I can have full styling control. For example, I have this button in here and I have them in a flexbox. And I say, you know what? I don't like that. I want them to be on the line, just like this. And actually, I want like some padding around them. So let's do half a rem. So basically what you want to do is you can style those in Wized however you want. And you can really go crazy in the styling that Wized allows you to do directly in Webflow. And I'm not a designer, so this may not look that great, but you can just say, okay, let's do it like this. Let's add this frame border in here, and let's go fancy. Let's update this padding a bit. Let's make it the same as we have it right here. Perfect. And then you want to go on the first item, and first of all, you want to get rid of all the other items that just helped you to do the design, because it's always better to do some designs with some multiple items so you know how it will look, and then to delete them, because Wized will only use one item and it will clone it. A bit like Webflow CMS, it will take that item as a template and clone it. So now we want to go to the settings for this one item, and this setup here is just a custom element as a button, but you can set this up however you want. But we want to add a Wized attribute of Wized spelled out for dynamic button. And therefore, we will have this element identified in Wized as dynamic button. And now if I click on this in X-ray mode, I will see that I have this dynamic button already created as an action. And now I can do stuff with it. So for this video, as an example, we have this variable called dynamic buttons, which will contain a list, or the technical term array, of objects, easy term items. So basically we have name, Amazon, link, Amazon.com, name, Etsy, link, Etsy.com, name, Wized, link, Wized.com, and so on. And this is basically a list from which we can render data. And this is exactly how Webflow CMS works too. So I'm going back to my action, and now I want to create an action for render list. And you can just select render list, and you have to write return in this example, and you're just going to add your variable in here, which will contain your list. This doesn't need to be a variable. It can also come from a request that you're doing, but this is just an easier example for me to show this in a variable for this video here. But now I'm just going to apply my v-iterator. The v-iterator is basically just a variable which you're going to have defined as a start number for 0 that will help you keep track of the dynamic items. Wized is already autonomously incrementing that iterator to make sure that you're only going to have the proper iterations. The only thing you need to do is assign the iterator based on the variable you want to be as the iterator. Now, Wized could technically do all of that for you, but the way Wized is doing it is super handy, because some of the times if you work with lists in lists, you may need to assign different iterators to keep track of those lists. So Wized is not autonomously defining something for you like I think Bubble did, where you have issues when you go in more complex layouts. Wized gives you here the flexibility to work with that customly, which 90% of the use cases don't need that. So just add one variable starting at 0, and this is enough for 99% of the users as far as I can see it, at least if you're beginning. So you have that in here, and the moment I'm going to reload, you see, oh, we already have them rendered. And those items, I cannot click on them, but I can click on this one, because this item in here is the original item, and it will get duplicated 2 times as much times as there is content in the array, and then it will duplicate them, clone this item, and then make those work. And this is Wized, this is Webflow, and those two are populated by Wized within the Webflow canvas. And now, actually, let's add something in here, and let's add a set text, because right now it just says dynamic. We want this to say something, and we wanted to say the title, which we have to find in our list, or which our list gives us. So I'm just simply going to write return, and I'm taking just like my variable or my request response here. And now, as you can see, we have all those things in here. So what you want to do is you want to do like a little, basically a bit like an array, and I'm going to add like this brackets here, and I'm going to add a v.iterator. I'm going to add my iterator, the one that I have assigned in the list, because this helps us index dynamic list items. So as you can see, I'm now getting the first list item. And let's just keep this like this for illustration purposes. And if I'm now going to re-render this, we see that the first item will have name, Amazon, link, Amazon.com, and the second one will have name, Etsy, link, Etsy.com, and the third one will have Wized, link, Wized.com. But we want this to not show the whole object, as this thing is called right here. We want this actually to just show the name. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to write dot name, and you see, and this will now only show the names of our items in here. But now I cannot click them. I want to click those items and then perform a request to dynamically go to this link. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to add an on-event action. So on click, I'm going to, I don't need to prevent default in this example. You only need that if it's like a form or something like this. But then I'm going to go to navigate to, and I want to navigate to the dynamic link. It's the same principle we're going to do with the name. I just don't want it to navigate to name, right? So in this example here, I would want to navigate to the link, as you can see here. So it will be the dynamic link for each item. And let's say we want to open this in a new tab, just like this. So now if I'm going to refresh the canvas, and if I were to click on Amazon, we will see, that we will open a tab for Amazon. Okay, and if I click on Etsy, we will see that we're going to open a tab for Etsy. And if I click on Wized, we're going to see that I'm going to open a tab for Wized. And this is how you're going to render lists in Wized, but lists in Wized, that was quite a word, but also performing actions with the list items. The nice thing about that is, if I click on Etsy, it will open Etsy. So this dynamic text doesn't just apply to this dynamic events don't just apply to text or content being shown, but this also applies to events that happen when I click on the dynamic item. It's a bit like if you click on a Webflow CMS item, it will open the CMS page and not a different page. So think of the possibilities here. It doesn't need to be a page. You can click on an item, for example, for an amount, and it will add a specific amount to a calculation or something like this. This really opens up the possibilities to create stunning web apps and web application in a visual interface. Because yes, we may, if you really want to be complex here, you may call this code. We have to write return, and that is it. And we have to put basically a return in here, and we sometimes have to do like this brackets saying v.iterator to get it dynamically. And we have to use .link. But this is all of the coding that is needed in Wized. It is really super simple. And if you can understand what we just did here, you can build web applications in Wized. You can turn your ideas, your visions, your dreams into reality. The possibility is right here. And I really hope that you're going to enjoy the journey towards building such wonderful web applications that hopefully look better than this UI I built in here. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being willing to learn new things. And yeah, just thank you so much for being part of the community. And this really means a lot to me. So thank you so much and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.